Have you ever heard of the Bureau of Automotive Repair, BAR for short? Well, if you've ever had car repairs, auto body repairs, smog checks, or plan to buy another car someday, it would be useful to know about BAR. I'm Grace Trafton of The Better Part. Stay tuned and find out more.
Welcome to The Better Part, a program that encompasses a diverse spectrum of topics important to our community, which we hope will both inform and entertain you. We invite you to sit back and enjoy the program.
Lance West, our guest today, worked in the auto repair industry for 15 years before going to work for the state of California's Bureau of Automotive Repair in 1991. We're fortunate to have him as a guest today. Welcome, Lance.
Well, good morning, Grace, and thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, it's certainly my pleasure. Tell us about the history of the Bureau of Automotive Repair, and it's BAR for short.
The Bureau of Auto Repair was established within the Department of Consumer Affairs in 1972 after the enactment of the Automotive Repair Act.
What prompted this enactment?
What brought this all about, the rule and regulation, brought it about because of consumer and industry concerns of fraud and incompetence. And so that's why our legislators got it going.
Great. And what is the Automotive Repair Act?
The Automotive Repair Act is a set of laws and regulations that established the Bureau of Automotive Repair as the licensing and regulatory agency within the Department of Consumer Affairs.
And what advice can you give us regarding auto repairs?
Probably the easiest answers would be, number one, if you're looking for a shop, talk to your friends and neighbors and see if they have any idea of what a good shop is. And then the second question you want to ask them would be, do they fix the car right the first time? The next part of that would be to always get an estimate, and before you sign the estimate, read it carefully. So those are a couple of things that are important within the repair portion.
So we've all had problems at one time or another, probably. And so if I have a problem and I decide to file a complaint about bad repairs with BAR, what will BAR do for me, actually?
Well, the first thing, we receive your complaint and we'll give the consumer a call first. And we talk to the consumer, find out what it is, what happened, why they suspect it happened. We ask for paperwork if you have estimates, invoices, any other paperwork. We ask you about what has happened after you filed the complaint, because sometimes these things are resolved in between. And once that is taken care of, then we drive to the shop and talk to either the owner or the manager, whoever is available, and explain your complaint and what it is that you need to have done to resolve it. Now, if we don't have the authority to force them to do this, so what we do is, if we cannot resolve the complaint to your satisfaction, we'll go ahead and give you information on how to go through the small claims court.
So how long does this process take? From the time I file a complaint to the, hopefully the resolution process?
Typically 3 to 5 weeks. And the reason being is sometimes it's more complicated. Sometimes the repairs, the rework takes longer than others. But typically we can get it done in 3 to 5 weeks.
What percentage do you know of complaints are happily resolved? Or what percentage have to go to small claims court?
I don't know exactly. We have a pretty good, probably I'm going to say in the 50 to 60% range of resolution.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So, the other 40, 50% other things happen. And, but we'll go from there.
So if I decide to go to small claims court, you'll help me with the process?
Absolutely. We have booklets on it. I will, or your representative can go to small claims court on your behalf to explain the technical end. If it is technical, we can explain the technical end to the judge.
Oh, that's great. So actually somebody can come with me if necessary.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. Does BAR have any power to penalize providers of repairs and services?
Currently, we have citation authority over smog check stations, smog check technicians, and unlicensed auto repair facilities. If the actions of a shop or a technician are egregious enough, we can and do go to the district attorney and go for either similar civil or criminal action.
Oh, is that right? So you have had occasion to go to the district attorney?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Now, is there a time limit to filing a complaint?
The short answer is no. But in reality, the sooner one brings their complaint to us, the less likely that the shop will say there is somebody else has been working on the car.
So the sooner the better.
Correct.
But if I waited for 4 weeks, it's still not too late.
Well, that's not bad. Is what happens in smog check, you get your car smogged only 2 years. 2 years apart, right? And so if your car fails a smog and you get it repaired, and then you won't know for 2 years if the repair was adequate.
Oh.
And so your car could fail again in 2 years for the very same reason.
Oh,
and
I
you would go back and say, well, you know, and the guy's going to say, well, you put 30, 40,000 miles on the car, you know, somebody else has done something to it, and they don't want to take any responsibility for it. And that's a tough one to prove.
Oh, I see. Now, I've also heard about something called the STAR program. What is that exactly?
The STAR program is an upgrade to the old smog check program. Technicians and shops are graded on a 0 to 1 basis. To maintain your STAR status, you have to have a 0.4 or higher grade. And if you don't keep it at that, you cannot be a smog check or a STAR station, or if you're a technician, you have to have a 0.4 or better score to at least work at a STAR station.
So what cars are designated to go to a STAR station?
Directed vehicles are what they're called, and what a directed vehicle is one that either failed the emissions test and at a regular station, and then it has to go to a STAR station to be retested, or cars that have a history of failing the smog inspection, that sort of thing. Those are directed vehicles, and then there's 2% are random.
2% are random.
So for no good reason, you could have your car sent to the smog STAR station.
Oh, I hope not. So what percentage of cars have to go through the STAR program? Do you have any idea?
About 36% within the smog check program. The older cars, 75 and older, are not in the smog check program. Newer cars, 6 years and newer, are not part of the smog check program. So there is a specific window of cars that are part of the smog check program.
Oh, I see. Because I had never even heard of the STAR program before. So that's good to know. That's interesting information. And under what circumstances should people report a polluting vehicle?
If a car is smoking, and you see these cars at the stoplight,
right,
and you can see the blue smoke coming out the tailpipe,
right,
and some cars have been modified, and you can call 1-800-EXHAUST.
Well, we'll put the number up on the screen.
Okay.
And tell me about the Consumer Assistance Program, CAP for short.
The Consumer Assistance Program is 2 portions to it. One portion is the repair for eligible consumers, and the other portion is the buyback. And if for an eligible consumer, that'll be $1,500 to buy back. For the rest of us, it'll be $1,000.
Wow, that's a pretty good program. So what makes a consumer qualified?
A qualified consumer is someone with a gross income of 225% or less of federal guidelines. So right now, that would be about $26,000 a year for an individual.
Okay, so it's based on your income.
Correct.
And so how would you go about applying for this program?
Well, there's two ways. You can go to our website, www.bar.ca.gov, or you can call our 800 number, which I forgot to.
No problem. We'll put it up on the screen.
Thank you. And so those are the two ways. You can have it either mailed to you or you can get it online.
Okay, so that's a very good program also. Mm-hmm. Another one that I had never heard of before. So this is very interesting information. And the other thing I'd like to know about is, what is the Auto Body Repair Consumer Bill of Rights?
The Auto Body Consumer Bill of Rights is a specific legislation that deals with the consumer doesn't have to go to a specific shop to have their car repaired. And the insurance companies cannot force you to go to one of their shops. The next thing is an estimate. We talked about estimates already, and so a auto body estimate is one that has a specific list of things that have to, so you have to have, are the parts new, used, aftermarket, rebuilt, remanufactured? They have to all be listed individually. Have to tell you about, and the shop has to tell you about rental cars. They have to tell you about whether you are, if they're going to charge you storage fees. All of these things have to be in writing before they can work on your vehicle. So those are someplace to look at. That's once again when you read the estimate, all the little, the fine print deals with this.
I see. Now, what is the auto body inspection program?
Well, that's a program through the Bureau of Auto Repair where if you believe that your car was not repaired as invoiced, we will have somebody go out and look at your car specifically. And we have specially trained people that do this. They have technology that can see through the paint and see if it's if there's Bondo underneath or whether it's steel underneath. And so we will look at your invoice, go over it line by line, and examine your car for all of the repairs that were done.
And what will BAR do if a problem is found during this inspection?
Well, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to ask you to file a complaint with us and or your insurance company. So that will get the ball rolling, and then once we get into the complaint and the inspection, that's when we talk to the district attorney if we find anything, really, really egregious.
So before you get to that point, though, are you negotiating on my behalf?
Absolutely.
To get it fixed?
We are the Department of Consumer Affairs, and so it is, as a consumer, we are on your side.
Great. I like having you on my side. And how does BAR work with insurance companies?
Well, the insurance companies, we typically deal with them during fraud investigations. And the insurance companies have their own agenda, and they want to stop the fraud, because if the insurance company is cheated, your insurance rates go up. And that's what that's about. So we work hand in hand with them during the auto body fraud investigations.
So you find the insurance companies pretty good partner to work with? Then?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. And tell us about some of the more common scams that people face.
The scams I find are, and once again we're going to go to estimates. There are people that will say, okay, Grace, I'm going to work on your car. Just give me the keys and I'll take care of everything. And no estimate, And that way, no estimate, no proof that A, they worked on it, and no proof that they told you it was only going to be $500 when they charged you $1,000. So get a written estimate, read it before you sign it, and that way you're protected. They can't raise the price without your authorization. So that's number one. Number two is some shops have a menu of repairs. And I was looking at one that I got in the mail the other day, and it's talking a whole list of things they're going to do for my car. Some of this is inspections, which is good and which is necessary. But then they want to put a bunch of parts on my car. And I have a newer car. It's not quite new. It's a 09, but it doesn't have fully 2/3 of the parts that they want to replace. And so a menu is not necessary. If you have an older car, the menu may be okay. But for a newer car, you might want to look in your glove compartment for your owner's manual. And your owner's manual will specifically state what maintenance is necessary for your specific vehicle. And that way, you know if the menu item is a good deal or not.
So it will tell me like what is required at 15,000 miles, 30,000 miles?
Correct.
And this letter you received, was that from your regular auto mechanic or?
No, it was mass mailed. And everybody gets these in the mail, the junk mail you call it. Well, it's mass mailed from the auto repair facilities. And most of them are the chain stores. And so they have deals for you. And I've taken up on some of them because some of them are a good deal. I don't discount them completely. Just make sure that what they're offering is a good deal for you.
For you, right. So, and what are some of the other scams that you can tell us about?
People that come to you in a parking lot. And be very cautious of these people because I prefer brick and mortar. That way I can find them.
Right.
And if somebody comes up and says, Grace, I can fix that dent in your car.
And actually, that has happened to me.
Yes, and it's happened to a lot of people, and you have to be careful of these people because you don't know what their skill level is. You don't know how to get in touch with them if there is a problem down the road.
Right.
So be very cautious of that sort of thing.
What are some of the things that we should do to prevent being scammed? You've already mentioned several of them, but are there any other precautions that we should be taking?
Well, I started off with saying talk to your friends and your neighbors. And that's the best advertisement for any shop is if you find a shop that you like and they fix your car right the first time and they do the work within your price range, that's a keeper. And you want your friends to know about that. And so those are the people that do well over the long term because they have satisfied customers. And those are the ones you want to go to.
I absolutely agree because when I first bought my Toyota, which was in 2010, I started asking around exactly what you're saying. So I started asking friends and acquaintances. And 3 separate people told me the same garage to go to. And so I did because they were recommended by 3 separate people. And I've been very, very happy with them. So that absolutely is a good suggestion. Let's change the subject a little bit. What tips can you give us when we're buying a car?
First thing you want to do, you want to have the car inspected before you sign anything. And when you go to it's either a used car dealer or an individual, say, well, I'd like to have the car inspected.
So how about new cars? Do new cars have to be inspected?
No, a new car, they're new, and they're under a factory warranty. So if there's a problem, you've got a dealership behind that specific car. It's when it's used that you need to deal with this sort of thing. And as a used car, you want to have it inspected and take it to a registered automotive repair facility. And once again, you can check to see if this shop is registered by going to www.bar.ca.gov and have them lift it up in the air, and they can check for rust, corrosion, accident damage. These are things that can be hidden underneath paint. You want the wheels to be taken off, so you can check the brakes on all 4 wheels and look around at the suspension, make sure those things are all in good shape. Once you get it back together on the ground, go for a road test, and the road test will tell you if the transmission shifts right and if the brakes are working correctly. And then if it's a 96 or newer, you can have the codes checked. If there are problems with the vehicle, the codes will show this, both its engine or emissions code or a body code. And so these are the things that are hugely important before you give anybody any money.
So these codes, you're saying that we can check
Absolutely.
on them, and how do we go about doing that?
It takes a specific piece of equipment to look in the computer, but like I said, 1996 and newer all have computers in their cars that allow the technician to check for the codes. And there are body codes and there are emissions codes. So the engine has one set, and like your transmission and just so many other on the new cars, pretty much everything has its own computer. So they can check for those codes also.
So if we take a car to be checked, now will the mechanic give us a list of things that he is going to be doing for inspection, or how do we know that all these things are being checked?
No, actually there's no special criteria. And that's why you need to ask them to take off the tires and put it up in the air and look for our accident damage and check for the codes, both body codes and emissions codes, and check the brakes and road test it to make sure the transmission, and check the lights and all of this.
So we actually should give the mechanic a list of things we want checked?
And some shops, the better shops, will already know what to do, but it never hurts to remind them what you want.
Okay. And usually how much would this cost?
It's typically an hour. So in this area, $125 to one of the high-end dealerships is getting like $180, $190 an hour.
Oh, really?
So it's typically about an hour shop time.
So between $100 and $200?
That's a good range, yeah.
Okay.
So.
But it's probably worth it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Because if you buy a lemon, good luck getting your money back.
Tell us about the roadside inspection program.
Now, the roadside inspection program is a program the Bureau of Auto Repair does to, it's like a second opinion on a smog inspection. And what we're doing is we set up on the side of the road, and we have technicians and all the equipment set up on the side of the road, and then we flag people in and we ask you if you would like to participate. And if you're in a hurry or you just plain don't want somebody looking at your car, you can say no and you drive out and you go away.
So there's no penalty for not doing it?
It's a voluntary program. But if you do stay, it helps us collect real-world data. And we don't look at your name, but your car. And that's how we track all this, is by the car, not the owner. And we'll look at the history, the smog check history of the vehicle, and then we'll look at when was it smogged, how well did you pass, and then we'll compare it to the readings we got on the roadside inspection. So they really don't care about the owner of the vehicle. They're just collecting data on the vehicles themselves. Correct. And we will, if we notice any problems with your car, we'll tell you about it. And we'll give you a VIR, but it's not
what is a VIR?
Oh, excuse me, a vehicle inspection report. And that will detail everything that we looked at and the emissions reading, all of this. But once again, it won't go to the DMV like a real smog inspection.
Ah, okay.
So
it's not going to really penalize us in any way.
No.
So does it affect consumers in any other way, these roadside inspections?
No. What it is that's why it's voluntary. And by volunteering, you're helping us collect real-world data. And it helps us make a better smog check program.
That's great. So it sounds like BAR really does provide a very good consumer service. And I was very surprised that so many people had not heard of this really good organization. Do you do any kind of outreach? I know you yourself do, right?
Yes.
By giving presentations. Are there any other outreach programs to publicize your services?
Occasionally, we have radio spot ads. We haven't had any in a number of years, but occasionally we have had, I should say in the past, radio spots, and but that's about it. And it's the outreach that I do is where we get the most response.
Now, what kind of organizations do you give your presentations to?
Anybody that'll have us.
Like-
I've given industry groups because you know, the mechanics, the shop owners, service writers, these people all want to know what's coming up next because things are always changing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tell them what's new, what's on the horizon, what we're talking about. I will refresh their memory on some things. We have what's called a Write It Right presentation for the industry, and what that's about is how to do the estimate. I'm still on the estimates, you know, how to do an estimate properly.
Mm.
And so these are the things that we do to keep the industry up to speed. I met you at the Senior Scam Stoppers presentation,
Mm-hmm.
and we do a lot of those. So these are the things that, how I get the word out in this area.
I think that's fantastic because I think you're providing a really, really good service to the consumers. And I hope more consumers hear about you because, as I had told you before, I had never heard of BAR, had not heard of these programs, you know, like, you know, stopping pollution and the CAP program and so forth. And so I think the more people who know about these programs, the better. So continue to do your good work.
I will.
And thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Grace.
Thank you for being with us today. Be sure to also watch our programs on YouTube. See you again next week on The Better Part. Bye-bye.
We breathe over 20,000 times a day. We can't see the air that we breathe or the pollution that's in it. The biggest contributors to air pollution are the vehicles we drive. You can help change this. Simple things like proper car maintenance and tire inflation reduce vehicle pollution. Start the change now. Drive healthy for California.
Now you remember, Lizzie, how she used to run before? Going 15 miles an hour, she would lose a door. When she was doing 20, remember how you'd feel? At 35 and 40, she almost lost a wheel. At 45 and 50, she ran right out of shape. At 60, then you started thinking how you could escape. At 65, a bird came out of the machinery and started in to warble, nearer, my God, to thee. C-O-D-F-O-B, all you need is do-re-mi. Henry's made a lady out of Lizzie. Since he lifted up her face, she travels at an awful pace. Henry's made a lady out of Lizzie. Mr. Ford was angry, but now he's very wise. Business is business, so he apologized.